أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Evaluating Formative Models SEMinR series. PLS-SEM is a preferred approach when formatively specified constructs are included in the PLS path model. Now, in the last session or last few sessions, we talked about how to evaluate a reflective measurement model. In this session and in the coming few sessions, we are going to talk about how to evaluate a formative model. Before going into the detail of formative measurement model, it is very important that one should understand the difference between reflective and formative models. I'm not going to discuss this in this particular video. However, there is a detailed video on the channel on the differences between the two. It is strongly recommended that scholars watch that video before assessing how to evaluate a formative measurement model. In this part of the series, I discuss the key steps for evaluating formative measurement model. Now, the relevant criteria can include convergent validity, indicator collinearity, and statistical significance and relevance of the indicator weights. Now, these are the steps that we use in evaluating a formative measurement model. Next, I will introduce key criteria and their thresholds and illustrate their use with an example. Now, our example. The proposed model has three constructs as we did earlier: vision, development, and reward. Now, they are measured formatively and they impact a reflectively measured construct called collaborative culture. Now, to access data, how do we access data? We already know this. We have done this maybe tens of times now. So let's start and step by step, let's add this particular code into R. Although I've got it here, but doing it as we read or as we study obviously helps, so that any errors that we get, we can counter them as well. Now let's see if we've got, okay, this is the data file here again, and this is the source, complete source. Let's run it. Okay, all good. Again, look at this, all good. Moving on, let's look at this here. The three constructs are formative constructs estimated with mode B, while collaborative culture is a reflective construct estimated with mode A. Now, model estimation, as we did earlier, when they are reflective, it is done with mode A. We do not need to write mode A when it is a reflective measurement model. However, if your construct is formative, you need to put mode B and tell R this is a formative construct. We are going to look into this as to how it is done in R. Now, the weights parameter of composite, this is done through weights parameter. We are going to add this new parameter to this composite function that we've been using all along. Now, it is by default set to mode A, obviously, because by default we have a reflective construct, or we take the constructs as reflective. Thus, when no weights are specified, the construct is estimated as being reflective. But if you have got a formative construct, you need to specifically mention mode B. Alternatively, we can explicitly mention mode A for reflective measurement constructs and mode B for formative constructs. Now, once you have specified your model, okay, these are the constructs that are formative, these are the constructs that are reflective, then obviously the next step is estimation. Now, what it does is we use this estimate PLS function to estimate the model, this time specifying the measurement model and structural model. Again, finally, we apply the summary function to get our results, and that results, or those results, are stored in summary underscore simple object. You can name it to your convenience, whatever you want. Now, what's the code? How do we do this? Now, look at this. We've been using this code, but we haven't been specifying the weights here. Now, in this example, I'm taking vision, development, rewards, all these three as formative. Now, I need to tell R that yes, these are formative. How do I do this? Previously, we were adding a parenthesis here, but now we are adding a new argument here, which is weights. Now I'm telling are that this vision here measured using four items is a formative construct. Same is for development and rewards. But look at this here. There is no mode A here. Why? Because this is a reflective construct. Now, when it's reflective, you do not need to mention any weights or any mode. If you do, it's fine. Now let's add this code. So we now specify our measurement model. Let's put it here and let's run it. So it did run fine and there were no errors. Moving on. The next thing is, again, once you have specified your measurement model, the next thing is we specify our structural model. Now again, this is very simple. You just have to call the relationships function and identify the paths. In this case, we have got just these three IVs, predictors affecting this outcome. Again, let's simply do this, run, and it all ran fine. Now you have to estimate your measurement model. Now how do we do this? Again, simply copy it, copy, and paste it here, and do not need these spaces. So let's say we cut down on the spaces. Now let's run it. Okay, all 341 observations are valid. No errors, no problems whatsoever. What you have done is you have estimated the PLS path model. You have given it the data. You have mentioned the measurement model. You have mentioned the structural model. You have mentioned the missing argument, that how do you want to treat the missing values, and you have identified the missing values in your data. Just simply run the model or call this function, and when this function is called, the results are stored in this object simple_model. Moving on, and finally let's get what's in the simple_model object. So when it ran, obviously it was estimation, so estimation was done. So where is our output? Here is your output that you can retrieve using this summary function, and when whatever is retrieved is now stored in this particular object here. Let's run it. Now if you want to have a look at it, let's say summary_simple run, and yes, it ran fine. Look at this, all the output. You can have specific output as I've shown you earlier. Just add the $sign and it will give you whatever you want. Now validity, just add another $sign, and you can have further. Okay, you can have VIF, HTMT, foreigner locker, cross-loading. We've done this before. We have done this in the last session as well. Now moving on. It is always a good idea to assess the missing values. The number of missing observations is reported in the descriptive statistics object, nested within the summary return object. This report can be accessed by inspecting the summary as this. Now it's always a good idea, just have a look. If you've got missing values, just have a look at the descriptive statistics. So how do we do this? Now obviously the iterations we have looked at into this previously as well. Maximum number of iterations is 300. Obviously you do not get there. If you do get there, there is some issues with your data. Maybe it's a singular matrix, maybe there are other data entry issues. Look at the previous session when we were evaluating our reflective measurement model. The link will be shared in the description as well. Now let's copy this. Normally you do not reach this iterations level. Well, I have never reached this iteration level in past, let's say 4 or 5 years. So majority of the times, maybe even 99.99% of the times, you won't even get there. So let's run this and see our descriptives. Now look at this, no missing values. Now moving on, again you can look into the iterations as well. Let's say we iterations, copy. Look at the maximum number of iterations, so 8, so no issues, we are very good to go. Reflective measurement model assess. Now this is very important. Now look at this here. We've got formative construct and then we've got reflective construct as well. Now the reflective construct will be evaluated as we do the evaluation of a reflective construct, as we did in the last 4 or 5 sessions. We do assess its reliability, validity and other details as we go along. So what you can do is you can again simply call your summary underscore simple object, add a $sign. Let's say I'm interested in the validity, add the $sign. Let's say I'm interested in HTMT. Let's run it and it will give you these results, whereby you compare all the constructs and their heterotrait monotrait correlation. Now I do not see any issues of HTMT or rather discriminant validity. Similarly, you can assess the reliability, and let's look at the reliability because this can be interesting. Now look at this. Let's add the $sign and let's go down here. Let's say reliability. So let's run it. Now have a look here. Now look at this. Look at this 1 1 1. Why 1? Because vision, development and rewards are your formative construct. You do not need to assess this for your formative constructs. You only need to assess this because this is your reflective construct. Now how do we validate our formative constructs? Now again, this is part of the evaluation. Step 1, step 2, step 3. We are going to look into this as we go along this series of sessions. Now again, just a quick recap. Whenever you've got both formative and reflective measurement model, you evaluate your reflective measurement model as we have done previously. You assess its reliability, you assess its validity. Now that we have looked into evaluating measurement model, just the introduction of it, in the next session we are going to look into the step 1, that is establishing convergent validity.